want to bring in Bloomberg's Alex Sherman, who has been on this story from the beginning. And now the question is, right, like, what are the options for both Comcast and Time Warner Cable?
Those are the two questions at this point, Betty.
Yeah.
And also Charter, really, which had a side deal with with Comcast.
They were going to pick up some markets, right?
Correct. They were going to pick up some markets, about 4 million subscribers, in a new cable company that was going to be developed, and then some sold directly to Charter. So what's going to happen? Well, Charter's probably going to try to buy Time Warner Cable now. They've been very public saying this for months, that if this deal died, expect us to try to buy Time Warner Cable. So they haven't even hit it. So I would expect that will be the next thing to happen here. Charter will try to rev up the engine again and figure out what price do we need to pay to buy Time Warner Cable, and will Time Warner Cable play ball with us? Because that was the issue the first time around, back in January of last year.
They didn't want to sell.
They didn't want to sell, so Charter had to lob in a hostile offer at $132.50 a share. And that didn't go anywhere, and then eventually Comcast bought it for $160 a share. So what price will Charter have to pay to buy Time Warner Cable to get that done at a friendly deal?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, so you can imagine John Malone and Greg Maffei are, you know, in discuss.
I would imagine.
Talking right now, saying, how are we going to grab this company? But, you know, Time Warner Cable's not exactly in the best position again. So got to be definitely a lower price, don't you think?
Well, there's two competing forces here. One is that there's not another buyer there. So Charter may have had to pay up when Comcast was sitting there. Now you know Comcast's not going to buy it. On the other hand, Charter's stock has greatly inflated from when they first made this bid. So if they're going to pay in equity, then Time Warner Cable would likely say, look, you've got to pay more because we're going to take your stock as part of this deal, and now your stock's trading at $190 a share instead of $130 or whatever it was at the time. So you're going to need to up the bid. Also, Time Warner Cable actually has posted better numbers recently. Now, who knows how long they've really drastically cut prices, so that it may sort of be a bubble. It may just be for a couple quarters here. And certainly Time Warner Cable was in sell mode.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to sort of pull it all back and bring it together. Rob Marcus, the CEO of Time Warner Cable, put out a statement maybe 30 minutes ago or so saying that he was ready to go again, and the operations were going well. Time Warner Cable's about to have earnings.
That's
we'll see some of those numbers.
Though. I mean, come on,
very hard.
Alex,
he was going to get $80 million.
Yes, those guys were ready to leave.
They were all ready to leave, and it's not just Rob, it's the guys underneath Rob. They all thought they would get a big payout from this, so there may be some pressure internally for Rob Marcus to sell so they can all get their money.
And go as planned. Okay, so, I mean, it was almost inevitable. I mean, when it was first all put together, it seemed inevitable that this deal was going to go through, right? I don't think anybody felt like there was going to be no way.
It's funny, it was a strange arc. I think when it first happened, because Comcast and Charter were talking to each other to split up Time Warner Cable, then Comcast bought the whole thing, and the initial reaction was, whoa, really? Is there going to be some regulatory concerns? People started to think about it, and then they thought, no, probably not, because these companies don't compete with each other, so this will probably get through. And then the tide turned, and we got Title II regulation, and we got a lot of pushback from Silicon Valley, and some lawmakers came out, and then basically I think the politics of it shifted, where the DOJ and the FCC were united, saying this would give Comcast too much broadband power. Okay,
so what about these other deals, though, Alex? AT&T and DirecTV, I mean, that's been on hold pending this approval.
That's right. So I don't see any of the issues with this deal with AT&T DirecTV. And certainly the people that we have spoken to around that deal have said, look, from what we've gathered, it's all systems go. And we still expect this deal to close by the end of the first half of this year. So that would be by June 30th. They expect the deal to be accepted. And
so this has no shades of similarities at all to Comcast Time Warner Cable.
Really, the whole issue with Comcast Time Warner Cable in the end was broadband. And DirecTV is a satellite TV subscriber and not a high-speed broadband company. So I don't expect the issues to be the same at all.
But then why was it on hold pending this merger?
It's still a big deal. I mean, it's still a $40+ billion media deal. And I think there are certain concerns with overlapping markets because AT&T is a broadband provider. They're just a mobile broadband provider.
Right.
So I think they were certainly looking at certain things. There would be overlapping markets where AT&T and DirecTV would both have a video product in the same market. That sort of needs to be addressed. Also, DirecTV has a large Latin American business, and they have wireless spectrum there. So Mexico needed to approve this deal. But at this stage, it seems like the only holdups are that last check mark from the FCC and the DOJ. And again, from what we've heard, it seems like that deal is going to go through.